So welcome. In fact, what I think we'll do, if that's okay, perhaps, is just do a catch-up, really, start with.
Why not?
So perhaps Andy can give us a little introduction into how your week or the last couple of weeks have been, maybe, as long as you like. What have it?
Was it Thursday? Thursday night?
Yeah.
Really nice evening.
Okay.
Because I went out with our Matthew.
Matt.
He mentioned
We call him Matt.
Matt.
Yeah.
Matt.
How was Matt?
He's all right.
Yeah? Yeah.
He's all right. He's working at a garden centre.
Okay. Do we know which one?
One in Fen End,
Okay.
which I didn't even know where Fen End was. Do you?
I think I should know, but I can't remember.
It's
Anyway, not important, but...
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Between-
but he's having a... He's okay?
He's doing all right. Still same old Matthew, you know.
Did you meet at Cushy Grill?
No, we went to Riley's and had a game of pool.
Oh, thank you.
And then a game of, for the first time I've ever played it, electronic darts.
Oh, it's fun.
It is
Really?
fun.
Yeah.
Do they hurt, like, if you were throwing a dart at somebody and it might prick them? Do electric darts do the same?
Now,
Two things wrong with that.
there is, but I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt because I genuinely originally thought that electronic darts were in some way electronic. I thought the dartboard was electronic and I thought the darts
lights
were...
up.
That's what I thought.
180!
But it's not like that.
No.
It's just a real dartboard next to a screen. That's...
So here it is. It's the podcast nobody asked for. Three guys in a kitchen, drinking coffee and having a chat.
So we had one game where it was, I think it was called Battlefield, and you've got the different sections of the dartboard, and you have to hit them, and then you get as much of the board as you possibly can. If you hit one that they've already hit, it takes it off of them.
All right.
Then there was like a donkey derby where you get two numbers, so like 11 and 19, and you've got to hit 11 and 19, it'll move your donkey along on a little race thing. It's really fun.
Is that like, there's one in London called Flight Club,
Okay.
and that's what it is. It's all games around dartboards.
Okay.
And this is why London's
Is that why it's called flight? Because of the dart flight?
Flight, yeah.
on it?
And the flight's on the back of the dart.
Okay.
It's called a flight.
Not that it's just a bunch of pilots that go there.
No. But they've got different ones in London. They've got one on darts. They've got one on table tennis. One on football.
Okay.
And they're all games around. So in football, you have a goal, and the ball comes at you, and you have to hit various targets. I think, yeah, we've done it. Very tiring for 50-plus-year-old bloke.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's good. It's good.
Are you ever done the axe throwing? I want to try the
I'm
axe.
doing it.
You're doing it? Oh, you are? You mentioned
I'm
that you're
going
doing that, yeah.
on a stag party.
Okay. Well, let us know where it is so we can avoid it.
It's in Chester.
So how are you? Okay. Thank you. How are you, Stu? What's occurring for your...
No, we're obviously we had the sudden loss of our dog Cooper. Yeah, still struggling with that. I'll be honest with you. You know, we have good days, bad days. Work is work. Really struggling with. In fact, I was speaking to an ex-colleague of ours yesterday who lives in Spain now, and he was saying he was having the same thoughts. Whereas before there was a lot of drive, ambition, and so on and so forth in the roles that we do, it's not now. It's more of not a derogatory to factory workers, but literally you go in, and my analogy is you go into a factory, you know your job, you take your head off, and you can go and do that job because it's repetitive every day. And that's how we think our job is now developed, because we just haven't got that that desire to go and get that big deal. And when we do get the big deal, it's no big deal.
No.
You know?
Nice one.
We've just, I didn't mean the pun there, but we just haven't got that. And he was at the same thought process as me. It's age.
Right.
And I think it comes back to all the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking about retirement and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's just evolution. You get to a point in life and you think, do you know what? Step aside, old man.
Yeah.
Let the youngsters come in and do it. And I think I think that's where I'm at the moment. You know,
Okay.
do I really want to carry on working or not? And
Well, you've been at this point.
I know, and that's the problem. But the problem is, you have, and Ashley spoke about this before. I don't know if we've done it on a podcast or whatever, but you have to condition yourself to the money. You're not going to have, unless you've got a really, really, really good pension, you're not going to have the same disposable money that you have when you're working, when you retire. So you have to then think about all those different things you can't do.
But I'm going to challenge you on that because I thought about you
In a nice way.
in a nice way earlier in the week,
Yeah.
right? Because guy who works with me, Les, he's 65 this month, and he's trying to find out what to do about his pension. Should he take money out of his pension, keep it all in there? He's having that dilemma.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Les, 5 years ago, was diagnosed with throat cancer. He got through that. He's had some health issues since then. And at the minute, he's waiting on having some scans because he's got every time he's eating, he's getting stomach cramps. He's had some tests. It's not cancer, but they don't know what it is. So I was sort of discussing with him because I guess I'm thankfully a long way off of having to make this decision, but you've got to get that balance, haven't you? Where I know what you're saying. You need to make sure that you keep working so that you've got enough in your pot to give you a certain standard of living, but you've got to weigh that up with the fact that you've still got potentially 10 years until you reach, we have got 10 years until you reach state retirement age, as it currently is.
12 years I've got.
Yeah, you're 56, yeah.
67.
No, it's 11 then, isn't it? 56, 67.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Either way, the trouble is that you're saying, okay, you want to have that certain amount of money so that you've got that certain lifestyle.
No, I'm not saying I want that. I'm saying I've got to get my head around, and Ash and I have spoke about this, and that's, I'm quite fortunate. I haven't had a mortgage for 8 years, okay? So when it came to 48, I didn't have a mortgage, right? And I was fortunate to have that. But people think, oh, that must be great when you haven't got a mortgage. Yes, it is, but you replace that money with other things.
Spend it somewhere else.
Or you invest it or whatever you have. It's not the lack of money. It's the fact that my wife's younger than me. She's not going to be able to retire. So what am I going to do if I do retire? Yeah. I'm not a person that sits around and does nothing. Yeah. So doing things normally costs money, right? So if you go out in your car, it's petrol.
Yeah.
If you go anywhere, you spend money. So you've got to think about all these different things. But you then have to realise what you're gaining mentally, physically.
Well, this is what I was getting at, because I'm, to take Les as an example, whose health in the last few years hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Kind of would say to him, well, you don't know what the next 10 years is going to be like. You keep all of that money in there so that you've got a reasonable standard, but you get to the point where you can't physically do the things. So isn't it about balancing out?
I think it is.
Because you can still, at the minute, you can go on holiday whenever you want because you're physically able to.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce it to Ash for a minute, because my dad, he had a really bad health scare, ended up on a life support machine. They thought it was the C word and all that type of stuff. And it scared him enough that he did retire 12 months afterwards, prior to being at retirement age, right? And he said he would change. My dad was and is still as tight as a drum, okay? But he's been remarkably fantastic at money. And, I do counsel my dad on money stuff because he's from that generation, right? That he always said to me, always have something put away for a rainy day.
How old's your dad?
My dad's 78 this year. But he worked in the car industry all his life, had a tough upbringing, lost his mum at 12, never knew his dad. So he's never had a lot of money. He's always generated his money himself.
Well, he had you at 22, so he was quite young.
Yeah. So when you look at that as a foundation, that's probably where I get a lot of my money ethics from. But he had a scare and he decided that that's it, he's going to finish. And as I said, he's been very good with money. He's owned his house for 48 years. The money he's had for the house, he's been investing it. So he's got quite a sizable investment pot, but he still won't spend money.
And that's the point, isn't it? Because you get to, that's for me.
And that's I don't know if that's a generation thing.
Well, it's obviously it's been passed on to you because you've got a similar attitude to.
I'm not as tight as much.
No, but you're also conscious.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I am also conscious of is, as you said, you get older, you can't do the things you want to do and all that type of stuff. And I'm all into health. I'm all into, eating the right things, longevity and all that type of stuff. And everybody always says, oh God, you look good outside, but we never know what's going on inside. Right? So at the moment, and it's becoming more and more apparent to me, because I've had all these tests that I've paid for and all that type of stuff, is I'm at a point now where I am going to have to make a decision. Because for my own mental health, I'm really struggling. I'm really lacking motivation. That's not good.
No, it's not.
It's not good.
It's not good.
And, I keep mentioning Matt Cooper. That has brought it really home to me.
Interesting.
Really home to me because he was fit. He was healthy. I mean, I saw the last person that we hadn't seen since Cooper died. I saw him the other morning. And he's got a little terrier called Ralph. And Ralph was he's a terrier, typical, barks at everything, growls at everything, all that type of stuff. Well, everybody knows he's a bit of a fighting kind of dog. But him and Coop used to go like a house on fire. And I saw Ralph's only come. He says, where is he? And I told him. And he couldn't believe it because he looked fit and healthy from the outside. Mm. So the reason I link it back to that experience is that nobody knows what's tomorrow's going to bring.
I guess that's what I was trying to get out with you. You've been unhappy in your work. You do realise that it is 12 months. It's our 12-month friendiversary.
Oh, is it 12 months this month?
Yeah, the 17th.
17th.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish it was mine only 12 months. I've known him for.
I know. Well, I've known you for
20 years or something. Yeah.
You've known me longer than that, my friend.
So you were going to pass it over to me, and I'll do it very briefly because I don't want to dwell on this. But you asked the question.
It links on to what we were going to discuss about the things that have just come out in the press about pensions and everything else. So, I think from a mental point of view, it's important that people don't, because you said, "Oh, I've got loads of years. Think about it."
Yeah.
Wrong thought.
Oh no, I know.
Wrong thought.
I do realise that.
I've just done my daughter's. She was 21 on the 6th of August, and I've just took a proportion of her money and invested it in a stocks and shares ISA, okay? Only because it takes that money away from her looking at it every day and forgetting about it. And she's going to put £100 in every month and let it compound. And she said, what if it goes down, Dad? What if I lose it? I said, you don't need it. When you need it, hopefully it'll be a lot more than what you've put it in.
It's a risk.
Everything's a risk, right? But so when you turn around and say, I'm a lot younger than you, ain't got to think about it, wrong.
Yeah, no, but I think, sorry, Ash, I know we do want you to come in here, but my point is that I've got in my line of work, working with a lot of older people, so many of my customers are older women whose husband has worked all of their life, all of his life, retired, and within 12 months has been dead.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you.
Yeah. I've got more than 12 months.
But I'm looking at you trying to persuade you that you're miserable in your job.
Yeah.
You're worried, you're balancing that with how much it's going to cost you when you retire and that income isn't coming in. But then I'm also saying, well, there is that possibility that you could spend the next however many years worrying about that. And it end up being something that you didn't need to worry about.
That's why to count something else that's come to my mind that we can discuss this morning. That's why I wanted to bring in Ash, because Ash had to make those decisions. They were brought on. They weren't planned.
Correct.
They were brought on. So, yeah, sorry, Ash.
No, so I have these conversations with people quite a lot because I have a view of, about work and when to give up and that kind of thing. But I mean, I was forced into giving up work at 59.
Yeah.
I think the period before that of some 3 or 4 years became really, really difficult with looking after Anne. And I think that I took the decision for 3 reasons. One, that it wasn't fair on the company to allow me to continue to work when my focus wasn't completely on it. Right.
Which is amazing. You had that thought.
Right. And secondly, that I wanted to be there for my family and for Anne.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that. And so that made me take the decision to just have to leave.
Yeah.
And I left at 59.
Yeah.
And I mean, the company were good enough to help me out for a year, because I couldn't draw my pension from the company until I was 60.
Yeah.
Right. And I have some real annoyance about that too, because the company stopped you retiring at 55 and take your pension.
Yeah.
But
they
stopped
used
it.
to give a 5+5, didn't they?
Correct. They stopped it.
Yeah.
And a lot of managers in the company at the time knew this was coming.
And they left.
Yeah. But they didn't tell me.
No.
Right.
No.
So at 59, I was forced to leave, and I started drawing my pension at 60 from my company, but I'd lost 25% of my pension.
Yes. You lose 5% a year, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 25%. So
That's a lot.
I had no choice. I mean, I had to do it, and whatever the consequences were, I had to take them. And I have to say, I had some sweaty nights, and I didn't know how things were going to pan out, because I still had,
The
two
boys were
boys,
still young as well,
two
weren't they?
young at university.
Yeah.
There was all the costs associated with all of that. I had my mother too at the time to take care of and look after and all that kind of stuff. I was fortunate in that I had some savings, and my life from focusing on work turned to focusing on Anne. Right. And that, that was a different focus. And we probably didn't do the kind of things that you would normally do when you retire, and that's when you talk about loss and things like that.
Yeah.
That was a loss, because, you have this vision of when you retire that you're going to, you're going to travel, or you're going to, do things that are pleasurable and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that, one of the things that really, really, I feel really sad about is that I wasn't able to do that.
You're kind of, in that sense, it's really interesting, isn't it? You saved through pensions and savings, and you put money aside for enjoyment, for things that when you were retiring, you were
security.
Yeah. It's interesting that you kind of hit that sort of, if you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't have been in a position to be able to look after Anne. So you've got the sadness that the money you put away wasn't used for enjoyment.
Yes.
But you also know that the money that you put away enabled you to look after Anne, something that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
Yeah. And by the way, if I wasn't able to do that, then the state would have had to take that over. Right.
Yeah.
In some way, because, I saved the NHS. I saved social services, huge amounts of money for keeping my wife at home.
Yeah.
Right.
But what's really interesting is an article I read this morning, and when there's a statistics that's come out, which is quite, it highlights the society we now live in. Okay. I think people, and I don't want to be too generic. I don't want to be, how can I put it? I don't want to use this as everybody's like this, because it's not. I don't want to generalize it. But I remember speaking, I can't remember, it was years and years ago, about when people get married and they say those vows. Okay. And years ago, I think people said those vows and it meant more than it does today, because the amount of marriages that fail compared to 30, 40 years ago is alarming. Okay. And there was an article this morning about the amount of marriages that fail due to a spouse falling ill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And particularly mentally ill.
Well, mentally ill and physically ill. So there was a young lady that I listened to this morning. Yeah. And she was a marathon runner. And she's developed a neurological disease, a bit like motor neurone disease, but not life-threatening. It affects her mobility and it affects her speech. But because it affected the life she had with her husband, he divorced her.
Yeah.
All right. And sorry, Andy. The reason that she was told they were getting divorced was because he didn't want the life that he would have to have carrying his wife. And I thought, Selfish. How selfish is that?
And
You know, how selfish.
and to add on to that, my dad works in special needs transport. He retired on Friday of last week, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and he's back in work now. In fact, he's never even left.
Well, you've gone back as a
He's brilliant.
self-employed.
No, he was working. So he works in special needs transport, and he's a transport coordinator, or that's what he was. And he decided he'd had enough of that, and he was going to go. This is a sideline, by the way. Apologies. He was going to go back just as a driver, term time, right? And he started that on Wednesday when the schools went back, and he has been going in the morning, doing his route, and then he's been staying there during the day and just helping out. And I said, I knew you were going to do this. And he says, yeah, but it's okay because I want to.
Yeah, and he can decide not to.
Yeah, and I spoke to him.
That freedom.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday. I said, how are you doing? He says, I'm just sat outside having a bacon roll in the sunshine because I can. But he's still got the company of the people that he's with and the time that, he gets doing something productive and achieving something. But sorry, that was a side note. But going back to caring for people, he will tell you that the amount of people who have a child that is special needs, the likelihood of those as a couple staying together is very small. Most of the time, one of them will not be able to cope with that. A child's born with special needs, and one of the parents will leave.
But I think there was a girl at Lisa's school who sadly has passed away. I think her dad was a teacher in the school. It's a massive strain on a family when you've got a youngster, because like anything, as Ash would find with his wife, there's no escapism for the carer.
I get it.
The carer needs that little bit of depressurization. They need to step out of that environment just for a few hours, and there's nothing for them. The facilities are there, but trying to get them is really difficult.
And I think this is where we can throw it back to Ash and say, whether it be a child that I've said as an example that's not well, or as you caring for a partner, do you think that people do split up because there's not enough support outside?
I've been told when I've kind of been working with the mental health service and working with carers regarding people who look after family members with mental health problems.
Yeah.
One, that I think I've said it before, that 99% of the people that are in my carers group are looking after their children with mental health problems. Yeah. I have pretty much been the only person that's attended these things that was looking after my wife.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason they say that, they say, for the professionals say it, that quite often when somebody has mental health problems, particularly if it's a wife, the husband does a runner basically and can't cope with it.
Yeah. And you've said that the vast majority of people that are looking after children is it true? Are the vast majority of them single parents? Are they on their own? In your
what, looking after the job? No, not necessarily. No, that's not always a fact. That's not always a fact. They can be, they can be single parents. There have been a few, but mostly they can be married and still looking after their children up to the age of whatever, 35, 40, 45 even.
And they do stick together.
And they stick together. They have difficulties and challenges and stuff like that. But part of the having the group is to give them the support that they need away from their loved ones to be able to, cope with it and deal with it and get help from us from it. So it works in that way. But just slightly going back to the whole thing about giving up work and stuff. I mean, clearly I had no choice, but I had to give up. I think that in the long run, whenever I talk to people about the issue of thinking about giving up work or whatever, I always say give it up soon as you can, soon as you are able. But the first thing you do is to make sure that you have a home secured. So, wait until you've at least paid your mortgage off, or, if you can, pay your mortgage off. That's your security, right? After that, you can live on minimal amount of money, right, if you choose to, right, and so there's no real concern about whether or not you've got enough pension and stuff like that, which luckily you have. We were in jobs and things that allowed us to accumulate that kind of safety net. So, but I think the benefit of leaving work is takes away all the things that you've kind of grown to dislike,
Yeah.
which, you don't have the motivation anymore. You have the the stresses and strains. And actually, as you're getting older, you think, is this it?
Well,
I mean, isn't there something else to life more than this?
I think you've described it perfectly where I am. I mean, Wednesday I was in London. It just fills me with dread. And I've just got another meeting coming up in Leeds, and I've got to be there for 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So I filled in my pre-trip approval, and I'm stopping in a hotel the night before. There's no way. But when I was younger, I'd say, yeah, I'll get my car and drive up.
See, I'd love that. If somebody said to me, Andy, you've got a meeting in Leeds, I'd be like,
yeah, because and this is the
That's
point.
unusual for you, but for us people, it was
not.
kind of regular.
And people, I a good friend of ours, Simon, I remember him saying to me in the school playground, he'd asked me what job I did. And I told him what job I did, right? And he didn't focus on the job, he didn't focus on the money, he focused on the fact that in his job, he used to go out and fix air conditioning units, right? But I'd go down to Yeovil and I'll stop overnight, or go into London, or go to Manchester, stop overnight. Oh, Stuart, that must be amazing. No.
oh, but you see,
I'm on my own.
yeah, I guess
I'm eating on my own. I'm on my own. Yes, there might be somebody in the bar, but most people travel in pairs with the colleagues. We don't need that for our job. I was technical and financial, so I could talk technical and I could do the financials. I didn't need anybody with me. I might take my boss now and then to drag him out of the office, or her out of the office, but technically I'd be on my own. So London, Wednesday, city office, Moorgate, on the train. The trains are so impersonal. People are just sitting there like on this. And, I met an ex-colleague of Ash and myself, Andy, after my work had finished. And he told about what happened on the train when he went down, a breakdown of society. He books a seat, right? Because he knows the trains are busy. So he makes the effort to book a seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He gets to the seat. There's a guy sitting on, not his seat, the bag that he's got on Andy's seat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a table seat. Andy made sure he's got a table. And there's nobody on the other side of the table on the train. There's just this one guy sitting in next to the seat that he's booked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Andy then says to him, excuse me, but, and this guy's on his phone, got his earplugs and gesticulates to say, just wait 5 minutes. So Andy waits 5 minutes. The train's now pulled off. And then Andy says, and this guy finishes the call. He says, mate, can't you go and sit over there? He says, well, no. He said, I booked that seat because I want to make sure I've got a seat. And this guy said to him, you're one of those, are you?
Right.
And he said, what does that mean? The fact that I've took the effort to reserve a seat,
Yeah.
and it says up there reserved, it's got a red light
Do
on.
you know what would bother me most about that? Is if I did just go and sit over there, and then somebody then came up to me saying that's my seat at a later station, I'd be like, oh, well, I've got to get up, and now I've got no seat.
And that's the point that Andy was making. Yeah. So he told me that story, and I was telling about, me having to get to London, get on the tube, get into Moorgate, then from Moorgate go to Liverpool Street. I mean, meetings all day, and with people that are so, they're bothered about labels. They're bothered about wearing Arc'teryx jackets at 300 quid, Bosch shoes and stuff like that. And I'm going, is this how shallow my environment is?
Don't even think it's just your environment, is it? I think, isn't it? Isn't it just life in general?
Well,
yeah.
Well, and I look at it, and this is the bit I was saying to Ash before you arrived, Andy. I'm at the stage now where I just don't want that, and I'm even worse than that. You say that when you get older, you get grumpier. Yeah, I've probably always been grumpy in some ways, but I'm also even more choosy who I want to be with.
And you choose to be with us.
And I love being with you two, and I love being with the few guys. And I say this to Lisa. She says that she finds what I say quite harsh, but I generally mean it. I don't need any more people in my life because I can't furnish all those people.
Yeah,
I struggle to furnish the people I've got now. Yeah. Mates ask me, can you do on Friday? Can you do Saturday? No, I'm fully booked up. Can't do next week.
And you think you're worried about what you're going to do when you
and
give up work.
And that's the point. I've got Jane on the estate messaging me saying, Stu, can you come and do the Salvation Army on this night? Yeah, no problem. So there's nothing stopping me keeping busy. It's just making that decision to stop it.
Well, thank you guys both for telling us how your week's been.
Yeah, sorry for more.
I don't know how that's going to go down as a podcast. It's going to be interesting.
Well, so
Content.
it's my turn, isn't it?
It's your turn.
Yeah.
He's had a great one. You can just tell. He's been to the theatre. He's done this. Look at him.
Look, he's taking my
I'm sorry.
thunder away.
Sorry. We'll
Sorry.
cut that bit out. And you
Nah,
introduce us at the
it's not
start.
that important.
I could just tell by his face. He's got such a story to tell us. And,
No, I haven't.
and the photos he shared,
Indeed. Indeed.
the characters he met.
Mm.
Actually, the first thing that I remember really of the recent 10 days or so is that actually this day last week, I actually went to a funeral on a Saturday morning,
Yeah.
which was unusual, apparently, according to Ian, who was walking past here when I was driving off. Where are you going this morning?
I
said,
do believe it's unusual to have a funeral.
I'm going to a
Yeah.
funeral. And he said, what, on a Saturday morning? I said, okay. Sometimes maybe, if you can't get the slot, you have
Needs
to.
must.
Yeah. So I went to a funeral last week, and that was something that I thought I'd talk about briefly. One is that in the past, when people had funerals, you'd actually get to know in the community by word of mouth, right? And it would be pretty well attended and so on, but it might be a bit hit and miss, I don't know. But these days now, the community has a WhatsApp chat group, right? So whenever there is a funeral, you get the notice on there, and pretty much, I would say that most of them are very well attended, which is unlikely for you guys. I mean, for instance, if you were to have a funeral, yes, you'd have friends and family and so on, right? But not the wider community, right? So when we have the funerals, you have people that families have known each other for a long, long time. They may not be very close, but they will come to the funeral. So they're pretty well attended. And so one of the things that I notice, one is that more and more of the funerals are becoming of people of my generation. So, less of the people of my parents' generation, for instance. So that's kind of a change in itself.
Mm.
And so I go to the funerals now. I never used to, but I go to them now, partly because I am now the sole survivor of my family. Right?
Yes.
And one of the things I like to kind of do is to show my face at these things and
the representative.
Yeah, and remind people that, that my family did exist.
Mm.
And quite often when I arrive at the funerals, I mean, because I don't have a lot of contact with the community, and over the years for various reasons, I've not really had a lot to do with it. I know of people. I know people when what they look like and stuff, but I don't know who they are quite often.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of like a half cousin, if that's the case, a woman who I often meet at the funerals, and she'll accompany me. And
she's your aide.
She's my aide, and so if I don't know somebody, she'll whisper who that is to me, and then
like a politician,
and then I'll know who it is, and I can appear to know the person. So that's
Shadow.
She's his PA.
Yeah,
but that's quite nice in a way, because it does it just means that I do, and so that's one thing. But the other thing is that also that it's the only time I actually see these people now.
That's
huh?
That's a bit depressing.
Well, no, I don't think it's not depressing. I think it is. It is what it is. I mean, in the past, you'd have what would you have? You'd have weddings, maybe, or you might have a community kind of do or something like that, which are kind of very rare anyway these days.
Birthdays.
Huh? Birthdays. Well, that's only close family things. And so on.
Well, no, I'm trying to understand what the community.
But no, I mean, so generally now, the only time I see these people are during funerals, right? And quite often, what happens is that, I mean, because I only see these people, I get to chat to them a lot. And so the interesting thing about this one was that Raj was at the funeral, and he was saying to me, he said to me afterwards, he said, Ash, you have to remember these are funerals. This is not where you come to enjoy yourself, right? Because what happens is that I meet people and I start having a chat and we laugh and joke and stuff like that. And I kind of forget where I am, right? So I feel a bit kind of guilty about that.
Yeah.
But on the one hand, I think Raj was kind of in tongue in cheek about it too.
Yeah.
But it was something that I'm now conscious of, right?
But isn't it funny when you go to different funerals that are of a religious denomination? And by that, I went to a Jamaican restaurant. I went to Will Butcher's funeral.
Okay.
Worked at Xerox.
Yeah.
Jamaican guy. And theirs was very much a celebration of life.
Yes.
Bright colours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jovial, laughing,
Yes.
laughing outside the church after we've
Yes.
done the service.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you coming to the wake? It wasn't a somber affair. It was
No.
to celebrate that person's life.
No.
Right?
No.
And it's interesting. You say you go to funerals. I don't.
No.
I hate going to funerals because I'm an emotional person. I do get upset because it is a sad affair to me.
And it is, and as I say, it's. I think he was. Well, I know he was saying it tongue in cheek.
We were together when he said that.
But it was obvious that I'm kind of enjoying myself too much.
Yeah, he did sort of say, Ash comes along and it's like, rein it in, mate.
But and it comes. I'm not going to mention names on this, but I know people that, to me, seems they must look in the deaths, births, and marriages column.
Hatched, matched, and dispatched.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they go to funerals and don't even know the person just to get some sandwiches or something to eat.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
It's like, I've got nothing better to do,
It's
so
like
I might as well go to the funeral.
Yeah.
And then they moan about what type of food they've laid on. Or are they laying on any food? Is it just tea and coffee? That's a bit poor, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, hang on a minute. You're not there to just scoff your face. You're there to remember him or her.
So how do you feel about... So the last 2 funerals that I have been to personally was... Anne's was the last one that I went to. And the other one was my colleague's mum's funeral. I didn't know Anne. And I didn't know my colleague's mum. In fact, to the point where that was really embarrassing, because when I went to his mum's funeral, I arrived. I was quite early.
Yeah.
And I realised at that point that I didn't even know her name.
Oh.
It was rather awkward because there was 2 funerals going on at the same time and I had to work out which room I was meant to be going in, and suddenly panicked and realised I don't even know that woman's name. So the point is that you're saying you're there to remember somebody.
Yeah.
Funerals are a little bit more than that though, aren't they? Because I didn't go to Anne's funeral to remember Anne.
You're there to support Ash.
I was there for Ash.
And what did you think of it?
Anne's funeral, best funeral I've ever been to. And I know that sounds weird, saying best funeral I've ever, because that's a...
But what made it so memorable?
Ash's
eulogy
was phenomenal.
But I'm not surprised knowing the character.
Have you seen it?
No.
You should share that.
I would. I'm happy to share it. It's not somebody that was close to you, so you might be able to take it.
But
I watched it 3 times.
It's not the fact that individual's close to me. I don't want to say
it's the somber nature of it.
I don't take enjoyment in seeing people unhappy.
But that's the thing.
And that's why for me, funerals, to me, I embrace what a funeral's all about. And by that I mean it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a time of reflection, remembering the person, good, bad, and indifferent. Yeah, and to me, that's why I get emotional. So if somebody said to me, like my uncle said to me, when my auntie died, would you read a eulogy? I went, Uncle, not a chance, because I couldn't do it.
But I think
I just couldn't do it. Sorry, Andy.
No.
Anybody that can do that is my ultimate respect, because it's the most emotional time next to the birth of your child or whatever that you'll ever experience. The death of a loved one.
Yeah.
And to me, I have the ultimate respect for anybody that gets up there and reads out something that's so heartfelt of how that person affected their life. I think it's amazing.
That's why I genuinely have watched your eulogy 3 times. I genuinely have. In fact, I even, on one of those occasions, my dad was there and I was like, Dad, you've got to see this. Because what Ash did was not only capture Anne's life completely, but also it allowed for me, somebody who didn't even know her, to have some reflection on my loved ones because of the way that it was delivered.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important parts of that for me is it's the first ever funeral that I've been to that was non-religious.
Mm.
It was about,
Yeah.
it wasn't, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
I'm a strict atheist.
Yeah.
I understand and I appreciate people's beliefs, whatever they might be, and I'm happy to go along with them. But that's the first funeral that I've been to that was about the person who died, not about the love that Jesus gives, not about what Jesus taught and what we should be. It was about, it was about the person. And through that 25, 30 minutes, I felt that I knew who she was.
Yeah.
Because of the way that it was done, and it allowed a reflection, people that loved ones that I've got. And I've always said this, I don't know how I'm ever going to handle grief because I've never lost anyone. I've said this before. If I can handle it anywhere near the way that Ash handled it on that day, I will, it was incredible.
Yeah. And I think, and the same token of admiring the individual delivering that speech, it's also understanding what's going on behind the scenes. Because, as I said, anybody can go and do that, ultimate respect, but also I'm even more respectful of how they're actually feeling in private. So, once that is finished, it's finished for you. You've listened to it. The individual who's read it hasn't finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the point where you've got to, carry on connecting and not forgetting that person who read that eulogy about that individual. Because you depart, they don't.
Yeah.
Right?
The movie hasn't ended.
No. And that's where people, I had a call on Wednesday from a good friend of mine who's had a horrendous time with cancer, and remarkably mentally strong he thought he was. And he said to me on Wednesday, it's the mental thing that's really, really affected him. And I'm going to try and get him on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I want him to understand it's something that is, it's like a eulogy, this podcast can be. For us, it's us three. But for somebody like Tom, if he did a podcast and just spoke how he's been feeling, what it's been doing to him, both emotionally and physically, it's something his children can cling on to. And it's important that he offloads that. Now, he's an Irish guy, he's very strong, doesn't give his emotions out very much. But he must have, and I know for that because he shared with me on Wednesday, he must be going through hell.
Mm-hmm.
Every day he's going through hell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I want him to feel that he needs to let go of that. He needs to talk about it. And I know Tom would find that really difficult because that's not in his DNA. But he's reached out to me because I've reached out to him numerous times and he said, no, I'm not ready, Stu. Do you want me to come around? I've got to, no, I'm not ready. And I haven't pressurised him. So I've left him alone. And then he phoned me on Wednesday when I was in London and I was with some senior people. And I said, I've got to take this call. I've got to take it. And I went off. They were only my colleagues, but they were senior people. I've got to take this call. And I gave him my undivided attention and said, look, let's meet up. He's in the middle of moving house, moving in with his partner. I said, let's meet, let's go for a walk. Let's just go and have a chat. And during that chat, I will ask him about coming to talk about how the last 9-10 months has been, because he wasn't fully aware of the ramifications of the surgery. They never told him that he'd be on a powdered substance for the rest of his life to absorb his food. He wasn't aware of future operations. He's now been told that they've found some more shadowing and they've got to go in again.
Mm-hmm.
So his head's getting used to all that type of stuff. So, when you go to funerals and you talk to people and listen to the stories, I always think it's important that you don't just take that one day. And, when Ash done the funeral for Anne, there was, Ash and the people that would have been supporting him, there was probably loads of people there. It'd be interesting to see how many people have reached out to him since then. To just pick up the phone and say, how are you? The amount of people that I've had texts asking me since Cooper died, phone me up,
Even my mum asks.
And, I've asked, and the point is, to me, that shows the person who's reached out after all this time. And, it's been a year and a half.
18 months.
To pick up the phone and say, hello, Ash, how you doing? That's I don't want to speak on, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but that would mean so much.
Yeah, well,
to do that.
People move on, and I recognise that.
Yeah.
And I can't expect people to continue to, feel like they want to reach out. And that's fine. I mean, I did have doubts I did have different view of that. And I used to be quite critical or quite, annoyed that people didn't. But now I feel like, well, I can't expect it.
No,
they either will or they won't.
Yeah, they will or they won't. They'll be, which is why when we had the event a couple of weeks ago, it was really to invite people that had been around for the last 12 months, and that was good.
It's just one final thing. It's interesting because that's what I say to my kids, because they say about friends, and I say, if you've got 10 really good friends, you're lucky.
Yeah.
You're really lucky.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I know this has been kind of eclectic and all over the place.
That's fine.
This morning.
But you're going to edit it, so that's okay.
Yeah,
that's great. Don't bother.
Yeah.
Editing it.
Yeah, we'll just do it as it is.
Yeah.
If you've got 10 great friends.
Yeah.
And obviously we're having a get-together in a couple of weeks with the people that have supported me. There are really good long-standing friends that I've not invited.
Same here. That's funny.
It's about their part in the journey, not necessarily how close they are as friends. There are people who I would love to be in that room, but they've not been a support in what it is that we're there for, not in that occasion. There are people going there there are 3 people going there, yourself still included, who I have either barely known for 12 months or haven't even known for 12 months that have been such a strong part of that journey. There's 2 or 3 people that I've known for 25 years plus that are not going because they've not been there as part of that journey. Sorry, that was again.
No, that's perfectly right. No. So let me finish my week.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think it was his week and we took over there, didn't we?
Well, no, we contributed to his week without knowing.
We added.
Without knowing.
We added.
So I had a day out in London on Thursday.
You did?
I did.
We've seen the photos.
You've seen the photographs. So the reason for me doing that was that my, as I call them, one of the husbands from Dusseldorf, one of the 2 husbands from Dusseldorf, Thomas, is a big fan of musicals, was coming over to London to see Evita. She knew he was coming, so that's all right.
So is Evita not going to Germany though?
I think I've just made that point.
No. He come from Germany to see Evita.
But yeah, maybe.
And obviously Evita knew him.
Yeah.
But why is Evita not gone to Germany to see him?
Well, I think it's the performance and the particular production that makes a difference. Okay. So this is a UK based production,
right?
And so he's quite, he was quite keen to. He goes anyway. He goes to lots of cities around Europe and elsewhere. So he was coming over to see Evita. So we decided that we'd meet up in the morning down in London, and the first thing we did was to go and see an exhibition of a guy called Edward Burra, whose painting is there on the wall. Yes. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
So we went to have a look at that at Tate Britain. So that was really nice. And then we just spent another couple of hours, had a bit of lunch and things like that. And so then he was going to go off to watch Evita at the Palladium and the production of it. And one of the features of this particular performance, this production, is that when Evita sings "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," typically it's something that she did on the balcony as part of the original musical and stuff to the masses. So in this production, what she does is she comes out of the theatre
from the stage
onto the balcony of the Palladium Theatre,
overlooking
masses of people.
Wow.
So people who
haven't paid for a ticket get a free show.
It isn't. It's only one song,
okay,
but it's the effect of it. It's the effect of it.
Yeah. Do they do? Is there somebody? So is it the lead actress?
Yes.
So inside the theatre,
yes.
What's going on?
So what happens is that you've seen pictures, I'll show you. But what happens is that when that part of the musical is about to happen, on the balcony they have a camera on what do you call it?
tripod kind of thing.
not tripod, but it extends out.
Oh, telescope.
Kind of like a
telescopic.
telescopic.
Yeah.
And it extends out so that the camera's then facing her and the crowd when she comes out to do the song. And there's thousands of people there.
It's projected
Sorry, in the theatre, they can only see it on a screen.
So the biggest song of the musical, the one that everybody goes there to
iconic
see,
song,
that they've probably paid £150 for a seat for this musical.
I don't know how much, but
it's got to be along those lines.
Well, I think at the latter performances they have, because I think it finishes today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they will be quite expensive.
Yeah. And they paid all that money.
Yeah.
And they don't get to see showpiece.
So one of the great things about it was that, I mean, I had no intentions of being there for this, right? Because it's like an hour and a half into the performance. I was going off to do something else anyway. I went to see another exhibition of a photographer. And then I thought, well, I'm in the area. I might as well go back. It's supposed to be about 4:00. And I go back and there's thousands of people there, right? Looking up at this thing.
So people know about it.
Yeah, well, because it is a feature of that performance of this production, it's become well known.
It's probably people that were there watching it that bought seats and then thought they were so pissed off that they didn't get to see it that they've gone back and stood outside.
No, they've got a neon sign pointing at the balcony saying Evita will appear
but there were thousands of people there, and
seriously, thousands.
Yeah, I would say about a couple of thousand people there.
Wow.
But so the great thing was for me was that it was always, like I do, I always like to talk to people.
Oh.
So while we're waiting to see this performance, I'm getting to chat to people and we get to kind of talk about all sorts of stuff. But then you get people coming up to you and saying, "Excuse me, what are you waiting for?"
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they don't know. People are walking past and they don't know. So that happens. And
so then they stop or not, as the case may be.
they stop, yes, they do. But the thing is, so several people who are standing around me to look at this are people who have either already seen the performance.
What Andy was saying,
already, right? And they've come to see this bit, or they're seeing this bit, and tonight they're going to see the performance.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was quite nice.
And the $1 million question was, how good was her voice?
Well, I mean, what kind of judge am I? I mean, I've got a video here. I mean, I can.
No, but you know, we all know if you hear a good singer. Well, I certainly have this experience when I hear somebody really good.
Yeah,
the hair on the back of my neck stands up because I think, wow,
sort of like Elaine Page level of.
Wow. Sorry, we're having a look at the video that. You know, we're going to have to edit into the podcast.
Yeah, I'll get to send it to
the Evita.
Yeah.
It's a lovely song, though, isn't it? It's all about Argentina, isn't it? And the civil unrest and all around the burial. Lovely day as well. Good voice. Good voice. Yeah, it's very good.
Anyway, so I thought that made quite interesting. So that was quite nice. Yeah, I enjoyed that, and so kind of hung around for that, and that was quite nice. And then I took a bus ride to Waterloo, down on the South Bank.
See, I never, ever go on the London bus. Never. I walk more than I do the tube. I very rarely do the tube. But I walk everywhere. I don't think of, because you buy your tube pass and that covers you for rail and bus. But I never do it.
These days you don't need your tube pass. You just use your credit card. No, you don't even need it. You just use your phone, Apple Pay or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I decided to go on the bus because my brother-in-law Chris and Anne's sister Pat, they'd been to London and they love going on the buses. They hate the tubes. They love going on the buses. So they said, "Well, why don't you go down? You've got a wrinkly pass. You could get on for free, right?" So I thought,
we call them a wrinkly pass now.
I call it a wrinkly pass anyway.
That's another thing they might stop as well.
So I tried to get on this bus at Regent Street to get to Waterloo. And the great thing is that your phone is dead good for telling you what bus to get and so
Yeah.
on. So I managed to find the bus stop, wait for the 139 to come along, and sure enough, within the time that it says, it's arrived, right?
Brilliant.
So I thought, great. So I get on it, and the guy says, well, this is only going for one stop. If
I got walked up there,
it terminates at the next stop.
which is like 20 metres down the road.
I said, yeah, it's literally, it's still on Regent Street.
Yeah. It's a hopper on that.
Happens on it. So we have to come off the bus, And then I'm thinking, so when's the next 139 coming? Anyway, there was a guy who'd obviously been to work, and he was on his phone, and he was grumpy at the fact that this bus had terminated. So I thought I'd go and talk to him. Right?
Oh my God.
So tell me, why is that bus terminated?
How would I know, he said.
No. He says it happens all the time. He said because of the traffic and stuff in London, what happens is that there is a limit to the amount of time they can drive the buses.
Yes.
So if that time has elapsed because they were in traffic, they have to then terminate the bus there, and then they have to get another driver to come and take it to their garage. It's
Same as lorry drivers. They're only
Oh, yeah, it's like having your taco.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
realise that they were that.
Yeah.
So it's all weird, in that way. Anyway, so so I'm chatting with this guy, and he's from Bermondsey, right down at the south of the river, and he's on his way home, and so he starts chatting. And he bends my ear for the next half an hour. So we're chatting while we're at the bus stop. Then we get on the bus, and then we get to Waterloo, right? And he's kind of
You're going to meet him next week.
he's bending my ear, and now I know his bloody life story. Do you know what I mean?
Well, just think, in 5 years' time,
Yeah.
if we get a chance, we'll discuss it on the podcast.
Yeah.
That won't be a problem of buses being terminated.
No.
Because they're going to be driverless.
There'll be
Yes.
driverless buses, yeah.
They'll be,
Yeah.
and that's where everything's going to just implode.
And actually, if they were passengerless as well,
Well, they will be, because we'll all be sitting there in a virtual world. Just imagining going down to London to watch Evita at the Palladium in our living room.
Yeah.
With these virtual glasses on.
So here it is. It's the podcast nobody asked for. 3 guys in a kitchen, drinking coffee and having a chat.